Welcome to Book of Legends. I'm Edward. Today, we turn the pages to remember those remarkable lives that left a deep impact on the world. Their work, passion, and dedication touched countless hearts. As we look back on their journey, we honor their legacy and keep their memories alive for generations to come. Antoinette Bauer, the actress known for memorable roles across television and film, died on April 30th, 2026, at the age of 93 at a retirement home in Los Angeles. Her death was announced later, bringing renewed attention to a career that spanned decades. Bauer became especially recognizable to science fiction fans through her appearance in the original Star Trek, where she played Sylvia, a mysterious cat-like alien. She also appeared in The Twilight Zone, another landmark television series known for its imaginative storytelling. Her film credits included Prom Night and The Evil That Men Do. Although many of her roles were supporting performances, Bauer brought a distinctive presence to each project. Her career connected her with some of the most memorable television and films of her era, leaving behind a body of work that continues to be appreciated by longtime fans. Joe Wolf was a respected NBA player and coach, whose basketball journey began in Kohler, Wisconsin. Born in 1964, he became a standout at Kohler High School, leading his team to 3 state championships. He later played at the University of North Carolina under Dean Smith, appearing in the NCAA tournament every season and earning first-team All-ACC honors in 1987. Selected 13th overall in the 1987 NBA draft, Wolf spent 11 seasons in the NBA with 7 teams before moving into coaching. He later worked with the Wisconsin Herd and remained admired for his knowledge, humility, and dedication to the sport. Wolf died unexpectedly at 59, with cardiac arrest later reported as the cause. He left behind a legacy built on hard work, leadership, and a lifelong connection to basketball. Lindsey Graham was a longtime American politician from South Carolina whose career spanned nearly 3 decades in Congress. He served in the U.S. House of Representatives from 1995 to 2003 before entering the U.S. Senate, where he remained until his reported death in 2026 at age 71. Graham became one of the most recognizable Republican voices in Washington, known for his distinctive Southern accent, outspoken personality, and long career in national politics. He was also a military veteran, having served in the U.S. Air Force, South Carolina Air National Guard, and Air Force Reserve. Throughout his career, Graham maintained a notable friendship with Senator John McCain. His years in public life made him a familiar figure in American politics, remembered for his strong presence, military background, and decades of service. Naomi Pomeroy was a celebrated American chef who helped put Portland on the national culinary map. Born in 1974, she became known for bold flavors, intimate restaurants, and creative modern American cooking. In 2009, Food and Wine named her one of America's top 10 best new chefs, and in 2014 she won the James Beard Award for Best Chef Northwest. Pomeroy also became familiar to television audiences through appearances on Top Chef Masters, Iron Chef, and as a judge on several cooking competitions. She released her first cookbook in 2016, sharing her approach to food and hospitality. Pomeroy died at 49 after a drowning accident while inner tubing on the Willamette River near Portland. Her passing deeply affected the culinary community. She is remembered not only for her remarkable talent but also for her warmth, mentorship, creativity, and lasting influence on Portland's food scene. On March 30th, 1968, in Charlemagne, Quebec, Celine Dion entered a family already carrying the weight of survival. She was the youngest of 14 children born to Adhemar and Thérèse Dion, in a modest home where money was scarce but music was everywhere. Beds were shared, meals were stretched, and every winter demanded another calculation of what the family could afford. Yet inside that crowded house lived an extraordinary source of strength. Her father played accordion, her mother sang, and her older siblings performed alongside them. Music was never treated as luxury. It was the language of celebration, comfort, and family connection. At only 5 years old, Celine climbed onto a kitchen table and sang for her relatives, immediately capturing their attention. Her voice seemed strangely powerful for such a young child. By 12, she had written a song called "It Was Only a Dream," recorded a homemade demonstration, and sent it to manager René Angelil. He heard something unforgettable. The man who believed. When René Angelil listened to Celine's demo, he heard more than a talented child. He heard a voice that could potentially travel far beyond Quebec. He invited the young singer and her family to meet him, expecting perhaps another promising performer. Instead, he encountered a 12-year-old who sang with extraordinary confidence and emotional force. Angelil was so moved that he reportedly cried while listening. More importantly, he believed in her future before the rest of the industry had any reason to. To finance her first record, he mortgaged his own home, transforming his belief into an enormous personal risk. Celine's early French-language albums quickly established her in Quebec, but Angelil understood that local success was only the beginning. He helped prepare her for an international career, including language training, image development, and the demanding transition into English-language music. Behind the transformation was relentless discipline. Celine had grown up understanding sacrifice, so she accepted the work required to turn extraordinary natural ability into professional mastery, a love under fire. As Celine grew from a teenage performer into an adult artist, her relationship with Angelil changed. The professional partnership that had begun when she was 12 eventually became a deeply personal bond. The age difference between them was enormous, and when their romance became public, criticism followed immediately. People questioned the power imbalance, the circumstances under which they had met, and whether such a relationship could ever escape the shadow of their professional history. Celine, however, remained remarkably certain about what she felt. She did not present the relationship as rebellion or attempt to satisfy public expectations. She simply insisted that she knew the man behind the headlines. In December 1994, Celine and René married at Montreal's Notre Dame Basilica in a lavish ceremony that received enormous attention across Canada. For Celine, the wedding represented something deeply personal. The man who had once risked his house for her voice had become her husband. Their relationship would remain controversial to outsiders, but inside their world, it was becoming a partnership built on trust. The world finally listened. Celine's international breakthrough arrived with remarkable force. In 1988, she represented Switzerland at the Eurovision Song Contest and won with Ne partez pas sans moi, giving an enormous European television audience its first major introduction to her voice. She was still young, but the performance demonstrated that her talent could survive outside the French-speaking world. English-language success followed with albums including Unison, Celine Dion, and The Color of My Love. Songs such as The Power of Love, Think Twice, and Because You Loved Me established her as one of the defining vocalists of the era. Her appeal was not limited to technical ability. She could make enormous productions feel intimate, turning polished pop songs into emotional confessions. By the mid-1990s, she was no longer simply a Canadian success story. She had become an international phenomenon, selling millions of records and performing before audiences that stretched from intimate theaters to enormous arenas. Yet the biggest transformation of her career was still waiting around the corner, hidden inside a movie that would become a cultural event. The song that changed everything. In 1997, James Cameron's Titanic became one of the most ambitious films ever attempted. Its production was enormous, its budget intimidating, and its eventual success impossible to predict. Then came My Heart Will Go On. Celine recorded the song under circumstances that have since become part of the legend surrounding it. What began as a cinematic ballad became far more than a soundtrack contribution. When Titanic exploded into a worldwide phenomenon, Celine's voice traveled with it. The song dominated radio, television, award ceremonies, weddings, memorials, and countless private moments. It became inseparable from the emotional memory of the film itself. Celine had crossed another invisible boundary. She was no longer simply a singer with extraordinary records. Her voice had become part of the shared emotional vocabulary of an entire generation. More than 100 million records had already moved through the world, and she was performing for presidents, royalty, and stadiums filled beyond the limits of ordinary imagination. But while her career reached extraordinary heights, the man beside her was facing a terrifying diagnosis. When everything stopped in 1998, Renee Angelil was diagnosed with throat cancer. The diagnosis struck at the center of the family and carried a cruel symbolism. The man who had devoted his life to protecting Celine's career was suddenly fighting an illness affecting the very area associated with her extraordinary gift. Celine responded by stepping away from her career to care for him. At a moment when most artists would have been surrounded by advisors insisting that momentum could not be interrupted, she chose family over the machinery of fame. She reduced her public life dramatically and devoted herself to Renee's treatment and recovery. The decision was not without risk. Global careers depend on constant visibility, and disappearing from the spotlight can make even a superstar seem distant. But Celine had never viewed success as more important than the people she loved. She remained beside Renee through treatment, chemotherapy, uncertainty, and fear. Eventually his condition improved, allowing the couple to believe that the darkest chapter might have ended. In 1999, Celine began preparing for a return. A new beginning. Celine did not return simply by resuming the career she had paused. She reinvented the structure of her professional life. In Las Vegas, she became the centerpiece of a residency concept that would eventually reshape the entertainment industry. A New Day at Caesar's Palace was an enormous production, created on a scale rarely attempted for a single performer. Instead of constantly traveling around the world, Celine could perform in one location while maintaining greater stability for her family. The residency ran from 2003 to 2007 and became a spectacular commercial success, drawing hundreds of thousands of people and generating hundreds of millions of dollars in ticket revenue. What initially looked like a risky experiment became a model that other major artists would later follow. Celine had found a way to remain one of the world's biggest performers without allowing touring to consume every part of her life. More importantly, she was able to build a family environment around her career. For several years, it appeared that the hardest battles were finally behind them. The children they wanted, Celine and Renee wanted more children, but expanding their family proved far more difficult than they had hoped. Fertility treatments brought repeated cycles of anticipation, disappointment, and grief. Celine eventually spoke openly about the emotional burden of those experiences, refusing to hide the reality behind the glamorous image audiences associated with her. In 2010, after years of trying, she gave birth to twin boys, Nelson and Eddie. Their arrival transformed the family's happiness. Renee Charles, their older son, suddenly became a big brother, while Celine and Renee experienced the profound joy of watching their family grow. Yet beneath those celebrations was an awareness neither parent could completely ignore. Renee had already survived cancer once, and the passage of time carried a different meaning for him. He was older, and both understood that their future together could not be taken for granted. Still, they focused on what was in front of them: newborn sons, a growing family, and ordinary moments that felt extraordinary precisely because of everything they had already endured. For Celine, motherhood became another role she protected fiercely. The cancer returned in 2013, the nightmare returned. Renee's cancer came back, and this time the circumstances were more frightening. He was older, the disease was more difficult, and the family had already experienced the emotional devastation of his first diagnosis. Celine once again began reducing her professional commitments. Gradually, her public presence became less important than the private battle unfolding at home. Renee's decline was not a single dramatic moment but a prolonged process filled with uncertainty. There were periods when he appeared stronger, and moments when hope seemed reasonable again. There were family meals, conversations, birthdays, and the everyday experiences of watching children grow, but there were also difficult days when the reality of his illness could not be softened. Celine remained beside him. The world continued to see the superstar, but the woman inside the house was living an entirely different story. She was not thinking about chart positions or sold-out arenas. She was thinking about her husband, her children, and how to preserve dignity and love while confronting the possibility that the man who had shared almost her entire adult life might not be there forever. The loss she could not sing away. Renee's final years were filled with the slow heartbreak of watching someone you love become increasingly fragile. For Celine, there was no performance capable of making that reality disappear. She had spent decades turning pain into music, but some forms of grief resist translation. Renee had been her manager, mentor, husband, and closest companion. He had believed in her when she was a child, protected her career, built a future alongside her, and remained beside her through the greatest triumphs and most difficult disappointments. Now she had to watch him decline. In January 2016, Renee died at the age of 73. His death was followed only 2 days later by the death of Celine's brother Daniel, creating an unbearable double loss within 48 hours. The woman who had spent her life singing about heartbreak suddenly found herself living inside it. Yet even then she continued forward. She returned to the stage because music was not merely her profession, it was the language through which she processed the world. Singing could not bring Renee back, but perhaps it could help her survive his absence. A voice against the silence. After Renee's death, Celine faced a different kind of challenge. She was no longer simply recovering from a personal tragedy. She was learning how to build an identity without the man who had been central to her life since childhood. She continued performing, recording, and appearing before enormous audiences, but her relationship with the stage had changed. She was carrying memories into every performance. Then came another devastating health challenge. Celine began experiencing symptoms that affected her ability to sing, eventually leading to the diagnosis of stiff person syndrome, an exceptionally rare neurological disorder. The condition could cause severe muscle stiffness and spasms, interfering with movement and, critically for a vocalist, her ability to control her voice. She was forced to postpone and cancel performances as her health deteriorated. For someone whose entire identity had been built around her voice, the diagnosis was almost unimaginably cruel, yet Celine confronted it publicly rather than hiding. She explained that the illness had changed her life, but it had not erased her determination. The stage had once demanded everything from her. Now, simply standing on it became an act of courage. Still, singing Celine Dion's story is ultimately not about fame, records, or the number of people who know her name. It is about endurance. A girl raised in a crowded Quebec household became one of the most recognizable voices in modern music. She crossed language barriers, survived relentless scrutiny over the person she loved, stepped away from global success to care for her husband, became a mother, endured fertility struggles, lost the man who had shaped her life, and then faced a rare neurological disease capable of attacking the physical foundation of her career. None of those experiences erased the woman who first stood on a kitchen table and sang for her family. If anything, they revealed her more clearly. Celine's greatest achievement may not be the hundreds of millions of records sold or the legendary performances that made audiences cry. It may be the decision to keep moving when life repeatedly demanded that she stop. Her voice became famous because people could hear emotion inside it. But the deeper story is what happened when the music stopped. She kept living, kept loving, and kept searching for a way back to the stage.